you're kind of the first person who has since I've started it. So yeah, appreciate it.
Sweet. So how long have you been doing this in yourself then?
So it's just been a couple of weeks. I started it in, it would have been, I think, first week in January. I announced it last year, and then kind of things got in the way. But yeah, it's just been a recent thing of mine. I was on blogs and podcasts before, but just wanted to set up on my own really. So it's a relatively new thing, but preferring it the way it is. So
Sweet. So yeah, I understand you've got a podcast called Where There's a Will, There's a Bird in Way. So essentially, you just talk all Bolton Wanderers then, and just say you give your own thoughts then.
yeah, no, that's it entirely. Yeah, pretty much just my own thing, and just go off kind of what's happened in the last week or so.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had a look at your YouTube channel yesterday actually, and saw that you'd done an interview quite recently. I think, was it with one of your players?
Yeah, an ex-goalkeeper. Yeah, we had a few seasons ago. Like, I mean, like yourself, I ain't done this for long, so I just thought I'd just give something to do really, just during lockdown, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it's a good shout. There's not much else to do, is there? So
Yeah,
definitely.
that's what I mean. It's not like we can go to the games, sadly.
Yeah, no, I know it's filling the void, I suppose, isn't it? So
Yeah, so get straight into it then. Obviously, today's transfer deadline day. Do you want to see any ingoings or outgoings from Bolton today, or do you think it's going to just be quiet for you?
yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be quiet. I didn't even know it was deadline day up until last night when it kind of got mentioned briefly. I've forgotten
Yeah.
all about it, and then I heard that there's a possibility of one of our defenders, George Taft,
Ah,
he's currently on loan at Scunthorpe. He's going to leave, I think, permanently, which is a real shame. We only signed him for free in summer, and then he's going to go for nothing again. And I think there's a lad who's coming from Burnley on loan, a goalkeeper. He's only young. His last name's Jensen, but I don't think he's any relation to Brian. Uh, but yeah, I think he could be coming in. So there's another lad we had in net who I think played against your lot when we played first time,
yeah.
and he's just had a bit of a howler really. So I think he's on the way out. But yeah, I think that's all there is going on at the minute with us. What about yourselves?
Yeah, we're linked to a couple of moves. We're linked to Lucas Aiken, striker at Burton Albion, somebody that Nigel's known for a while, which should be getting done later today. I think it's just a case of waiting for Burton to sign some players in replacement. Just a couple of Burton players have been linked with really, but it's deadline day, anything can still happen.
You've got a cracking manager in Clough, I must say. You've hit the jackpot with that, I think. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of surprise. Even now, it's a surprise we've got him. To be fair, because
yeah,
like past couple of appointments haven't gone down well, and when we got him as manager, it was a shock to a lot of people. To be fair.
yeah, no, of course, yeah. But no, I think he's a great appointment. So yeah,
Yeah,
great.
another player that you mentioned there about George Taft. I mean, we he used to play for us a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, he's a cracking player. From what I've seen of him, anyway, I think he'd only played kind of 5 games or so and then got dropped.
Mm.
Just kind of rotating it, looking for a winning formula, and he's just been kind of let go in the process.
Mm.
Um, I don't think anyone's particularly happy about it, but it's just how it's come about, unfortunately. So
So, like, if I'm right in saying this season for Bolton, obviously the expectations obviously are really high to get straight
yeah.
back up if possible. I know you've had a lot of players in the summer, so what have you made of Ian Evatt as manager? Then what have you made to him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the appointment in itself, when he first came in, was great. We seemed to have battled for him. I think it was between him and Ryan Lowe in the end. It was kind
Mm.
of a two-horse race, either of which I'd have been happy with.
Mm.
I think, if I'm honest, I was slightly more in favour of Lowe.
Mm.
But it seemed like Everett was the more worthwhile and logical appointment. Obviously, there was a big kind of thing around him coming in, thinking that it was all going to click immediately. How well he'd done at Barrow, we'd obviously taken note of that.
Yeah.
And he come in, obviously made quite a lot of changes. We basically had a team full of kids last year,
Yeah.
mixed with a couple of seniors who were out of contract anyway under Keith Hill.
Mm.
So complete revamp, and we should have seen it coming really, but it just naturally wasn't going to click. Obviously had a really kind of struggling start to the season. Didn't get many wins under our belt. Don't think until, tempted to say, end of September, October time before we actually got a win.
Mm.
And yeah, it was just a real struggle to kind of put it together. We had quite a strong pre-season, but I think the opposition wasn't the best caliber, shall we say? So I think may have been led down the garden path a bit with that. But obviously it's been more inconsistent more than anything recently.
Yeah.
And obviously got the win on Saturday against Leighton Orient,
Yeah.
who battered us 4-0 earlier in the season. So I don't know how much sense that makes, but Yeah, it's still massively inconsistent. I couldn't tell you now whether we're going to go and win tomorrow night against you guys or whether you could batter us. It's so hard to call at the minute. There's just no real definitive answer to it at the minute. So
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we've had our past two games called off like for postponements, so we'll be like really fresh going into the game. I mean, to be fair, it's one of them. It can go either way, really, because you've got load of fitness and that, but at the same time, you kind of want that match fitness at the same time, so it can go either way. I think, to be fair.
yeah, of course you do. And like I said, we had a good run out on Saturday. I think we'd have liked to play your guys off the back of Tranmere last Saturday,
Yeah.
having lost there, but kind of undeservedly so.
Mm.
But I think the fact that we've then had another game at least on Saturday,
Yeah.
especially with a positive result, should at least kind of motivate us to go and get something,
Mm.
or hopefully tomorrow night. But like you said, it's impossible to call at the minute. So I give yourselves a good a chance as us really at the minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know last week obviously we had to play each other, but like I heard as well the day after we actually tried to get the game on, but apparently it just wasn't possible for some reason.
Yeah, it got called at 12:30, I think, wasn't it, on the day?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what that was about because I'd seen a quote, a tweet rather, from your groundsman on Twitter saying that the pitch was playable by mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the crack was with that. Whether I don't know whose call it was to call it. I don't know if you're any of the wiser as to whose shout that was, but it seems to be a little bit strange considering that it wasn't for another 7 hours or whatever, and the weather seems to be improving.
Yeah, it was like, from what we understand of it, Nigel said on it basically that, the referee had to call it at that specific time. And,
Yeah.
later on in the evening, it was fine, like, because obviously it was a frozen pitch initially, but with the rain, obviously got it away, so essentially, and we tried to get it on the day after, but apparently there was complications. So it's a shame that they couldn't got it a day after, and it can kind of mess up the fixtures as well. I mean, next month's going to be a tough one for a lot of teams, especially.
No, absolutely. I know we've got quite a lot of games this month or so in Everton said in the press. I haven't looked at the fixture calendar actually. But yeah, I can completely believe that. It's just lucky that we had this Tuesday free, I suppose. So
Yeah.
I presume that works with you guys as well. You didn't already have a fixture planned or anything, so just quite lucky the way it fell, I suppose. But
Yeah. So, like, obviously going into tomorrow's game, obviously you're coming off a great 2-0 win against Norwich. How did you play in that game?
I thought the team performance was really good. Without being overly confident, we could have had kind of 4 or 5. There was just massive missed opportunities, which, had you seen the clips, I'm sure you'd agree we should have scored, the majority of them. But again, we had to. A 2 was enough in the end. I don't think you can complain. It was a really good performance. Still changing the system a lot. The first time we've gone with 4-4-2, and that seemed to work. We've lost the captain Sarcevic through injury, so it kind of allowed us to play around with it a little bit because he'd been in since the start, and that had kind of the team had been built around him, if you like, because I think he never really liked him, and he's played every game, so it's been a little bit different just to see what we're like without him. And I don't think him being out is necessarily the reason we've won, but it's obviously just another example of where we can go and how we can play and adapt kind of thing without the same team week in, week out. So it's kind of encouraging. Owen Doyle 10th of the season, so that's always a bonus.
Yeah.
He's obviously had a little bit of a difficult start to the season, but he's got firing recently. And then Harry Brockbank, who's one of the kids from last year, he, I think, scored, though it looked a lot like an own goal. I know he's taking the credit for it, but I don't know who officially got that one. But yeah, no, it was a good performance. And I'd like to say I was confident going in tomorrow, but again, I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you. It could go either way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this league, I think every team in League Two can agree it's probably the most unpredictable league, to be fair. Going into any game really. Yeah, I mean, you look at both sides, both Bolton and Mansfield. I think both sets of fans probably feel as though with the players that we both got, that we should be a lot higher. But it just shows you the league's not always like that. Sometimes you can have.
No, absolutely. I think we're down in 19th, something like that, and it just seems a bit strange that I think we're still closer to the playoffs than we are relegation. To say we're still so far down, and league's wide open. I think it only takes a couple of wins really to get yourself up there. I know Tranmere, I think, have got 3 or 4 on the bounce, and then they're right up there now. So it just shows that we're not a million miles away from it, even though it looks like it. Same with yourselves. I know you're a little bit higher than us.
Yeah, we're 14th, I believe, at the minute.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but again, I think with the caliber of your squad, you should be further up there as well. So again, I think it probably only take you a win or two with you being slightly higher. So it's just a case of whether you can get a consistent run of wins together, which we're kind of struggling to do at the minute. So it's all it takes. It's just a lot easier said than done. I think you'll agree.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, 100%. I mean, even though we've got 5 wins on the bounce at the minute in the league, with us not playing, like I say, it can sometimes hinder you sometimes because obviously players can be a bit like rusted. They can, obviously like we all are playing, the other day, obviously you've got that match fitness and obviously, so you can just go straight into it. Obviously coming back up a great performance and a win. So it makes for an interesting game for both sides, to be fair.
Definitely. I think we'll be largely unchanged as well. So when you say match fitness, yeah, there is that element of it. I don't know whether we've got any struggles coming out of that. It didn't look like we had any injuries coming off the back of it. But I think, obviously when you've won, you tend to not change a winning formula. So I think you can expect to see a relatively similar side. There might be one or two changes. One of our signings came on for the last 10 minutes on Saturday. So I imagine he might start. But other than that it's going to kind of be the same team. So there might be a couple of tired legs out there. So that I imagine we'll make a few changes later in the game. But I don't know. We've had a knack of going behind a lot. The opposition getting the first goal and then us getting a 90th minute goal, which I think was the case last time we played, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, scored late on to get the equaliser, yeah.
And in a way, it's kind of as frustrating for us as it is for you to concede that late on and for us to score that late on, because we think we should have scored earlier, and you think, flipping it, you didn't really deserve that, and we think the same. It's so hard to fathom, and you want to celebrate a 90th minute goal, but at the same time, you're just like, we should have been, we should have been on top there. So it seems to be if we get the opening goal, then we should be all right. Like we said, got it on Saturday, and we seem to be fine. Scored 2 in 2 minutes, so it's obviously the momentum we can take. It's just if you guys go in front, I think it's yours for the winning. So yeah, you best back an early goal.
Yeah, it's obviously it's just one of them. It's like it's obviously like we say, it's an unpredictable one, to be fair, because obviously a win can change a lot of things. Because football is essentially just confidence. I mean, even if a team's had a bad season, I mean, we probably had one of the worst starts to the league, like yourselves, and it was only until we changed management we actually started to look like a team, essentially. But yeah, so. And obviously, there's a lot of games to be played this season. It's probably too early to predict anything at this stage. But do you think that Bolton could perhaps creep into the playoffs, or are you still a bit undecided yet?
It's common sense against looking at actual statistics. You sit there looking at 19th and you think, no chance, we're miles off it. But again, you look at the table, you're not that far off it at all.
No.
I think if you ask me again in a couple of weeks, then I might be able to give you a more definitive answer, because if we keep being so as inconsistent as we are, then I don't think we've got a chance. But if we start picking up a few wins now, then yeah, I think we've got a chance. But we thought that a couple of times where we thought, right, this might be it now, and then it just hasn't been. Like you said, I think the manager change has been the key for you. And I think a lot of our fans thought the same, even though we've never even seen Evert's side in the flesh. It would have been kind of strange to see him go already. And he was new in the summer, and we paid quite a lot of money for him, I think, as well. So it wouldn't have made much sense to get rid of him. But I know a lot of fans were kind of thinking it just needs a manager change, and I think there's a lot more to it than that. So I think we're going to persist with him at least for the season, depending on obviously where we finish, and kind of just hope for the best. Really, that's our motto at the minute: hit and hope. And even though I insist that there's a lot of method to the madness, it seems like I'm not overly convinced, but just. If we get wins and it works, then fair enough. But it just be nice for it to be more consistent, I think. To answer your question, will we get in the playoffs? I think we might just miss out.
Yeah.
We'll get up there. We'll get top 10, but it won't be enough. Maybe next year, but we'll see.
Yeah. So, I know you mentioned a bit about Solkovic being injured. Is there any injuries going into the game anymore? Players that are doubts or?
Not that I know of. I mean, I know that we've still got Sean Miller on the way back. He was a signing in summer as well. He played a couple of games and then got injured again, so we've been without him for a while. Haven't seen too much of him, so it's it's difficult for me to say he's a loss because we don't know kind of what he can provide. We've seen glimpses of him, so if I'm not sure he'll be ready for Saturday or not. It was mentioned that he was back in training, so he may not. He may be on the subs bench, he may not be, but that's about as close as he'll get to the lineup.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, there aren't any other injuries. We're still massively missing a lad that we had in League One last year called Dennis Politic. He's been out pre-season with a broken leg, so I don't think he'll be back anytime soon. But no, in terms of fresh ones, I don't think there is, as far as I'm aware, anyway. Like I said, Declan John was just coming back from an injury that we'd signed from Swansea on loan, so it's just whether Everett deems him fit to start tomorrow. Whether again he'll be coming on from the bench, but yeah, I think it'll be relatively the same side as I said. Wouldn't be surprised if we went 4-4-2 again. It's just whether you decide to keep the same winning side or whether you want to keep them fresh and fit. You know, because the more you play them, the more they're at risk of injury, I suppose. So it's a massive gamble. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see us play quite a similar side to Saturday.
So is it like a case of obviously this season, obviously it's like ourselves, you've got obviously like a new team. Do you think that's the case, like just been obviously getting to know each other? Do you think that's another thing, you know, why you're in the situation that you're in position wise, do you think?
Yeah, massively. It's been difficult, I think, for them to bond because they haven't had massive game time together because we've changed it so often. No one kind of stood out to be partnerships necessarily. The closest we got to it is probably Doyle and Delfonso up front. Delfonso's gone off the boil a little bit recently. So again, it's kind of just been left up to Doyle to get the goals. Sarcevic was bagging quite a few. So again, to be without him is a little bit of a shame. But yeah, it's just been massively inconsistent because the side's been inconsistent as well.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. Like, I get frustrated that we keep changing it and nothing seems to work.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely the reason. A massive factor in it has been that we had a director of football from last year called Tobias Phoenix. He was at Macclesfield before us, and there was a little bit of a debate as to which signings were his and which ones were Everett's.
Oh,
and it's starting to show now because of the ones that are going and the ones that are staying and the ones that are featuring in the side regularly. So again, I don't think that's necessarily helped that there's a bit of conflict of interest there, and that there's lads who deserve a place in the side but aren't getting it just because they're not Everett signings. He hasn't come out and said which ones are which, but you can tell pretty much, and it's a shame that those lads haven't got the opportunities that they perhaps deserve. And I wish them well wherever they're off to. But yeah, with the ones we've got, I think if we can pick up a couple of wins now, we'll be all right to go on a run. But again, it's tomorrow night is kind of a big deal because if we can get 2 in a row, I think that's the first time we'll have had 2 wins in a row. So I don't know. If we don't, then it's just going to be business as usual. If we win, then there might be a glimmer of hope there. So bit of a decider.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting because, like you say, both sides are similar. To be fair, got really good players on paper. Feels like they should be a lot higher. Perhaps should be with the recruitment, but we're kind of in the same boat type thing. We've got the players and stuff, but obviously that doesn't always go to plan in this league, as we know. But yeah, it's just going to have to wait and see what happens, really. Providing the game's still on, anyway.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I mean, the weather's looking a bit better now, isn't it? I don't know what it's like down where you are, but
yeah, so it should be all right.
Yeah, hopefully. But it's deadline day obviously to come first, so I'm hoping that we get at least one face through the door just to bolster us and give us the best chance. And I don't want to come across as that cocky Bolton fan who thinks we deserve to be right up there, because based on the season alone, I don't think we do. Obviously, just kind of wishing us on to get there, but I'm kind of realistic at the same time to realise that we deserve to be where we are really as much as anyone else. And obviously, I think we completely respect every opposition that we play. It seems weird to be saying that, but it has been strange coming down to League Two this year and to kind of. I said at the start of the season, I don't look at any of the games and think, oh, that's not winnable. But based on the first half of the season, I've got to sit there and think, well, hang on a minute, they're a good side, they're up there. We're not going to win every game. I need to be more realistic than that. And I think it has helped the fact that we've not just kind of gone through the league and got really confident about winning every game and then broke down halfway through the season and bottled it. I'd rather have built up this way and kind of worked towards it at the back end of the year. So yeah, it'll be a tough one to try and get up there. And yeah, just see what happens. And obviously, we wish you guys the best with it. We're trying to get up there as well. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of tomorrow night for sure.
Yeah, same as ourselves. I mean, past few seasons we've spent a lot on players trying to get up there and stuff, and we've come close like the odd time, a couple of seasons back. It's just the same sort of thing, just spending money doesn't always guarantee anything. I think we've learned that now, just not to be doing that, because a lot of the signings we made this season was like on a free. I think there's only like 2 or 3 that was like spent.
Yeah,
So we've like learned our lesson now. But I think the big thing about it is with teams just recruitment. I think if anything, that's a big thing in itself.
yeah,
I mean, since
definitely.
we've had David Sharp come in, the previous ex the Wigan chairman, he's helped a lot as well.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that. I know we're not best fond of him here, with it being obviously Wigan related, but
Mm.
I'm sure he's doing a good job for you. And I remember, obviously, when you were in the middle of that manager change, I thought you got Steve. Is it Steve Evans back? Yeah, I think I'd seen something emerge about him, and then obviously you gone and got Nigel Clough, and I was thinking, flipping out, they mean business here. You know what I mean? So I have been aware of it, and someone that I work with, I think that their son's quite a big Mansfield fan as well. So I've been kept up to date with where
Mm.
you're up to and stuff. So yeah, I have been following you and stuff, and obviously there's no bad blood there at all.
No,
I think the fact that that there was a draw last time out as well means it's a very even playing ground, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of tonight, tomorrow night. As I say, it's a difficult one to call.
well, if you'd have asked me like the games where the previous manager, if we had Graham Coughlin still managing us, I'd be like, yeah, because every team basically against us, I was like not confident at all. But now with some of the manager change, it's just we do feel a lot more confident. But like you say, you've still got to be aware of teams hurting you, because even though teams aren't on form, they can. I know you've still got your players like Doyle that can still do a job on his day. So we've got to be aware of
Yeah,
that as well.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I think he's now starting to pick up some form. So if anyone's going to get the goals tomorrow, it'll be him.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, I think a lot of teams have kind of picked up on that and just marked him out of the game. We've struggled to give him the service that he needs. But fans have kind of criticised him, but kind of wrongly in a way, just because he's not had the opportunity to get the goals that he's perhaps deserved.
Yeah.
More recently, he has missed a couple of sitters, but now he's kind of firing again.
Mm.
That we kind of have faith in him to go and bag at 1 or 2 pretty much every game now. It's just whether you can contain him, I suppose, because he is a bit of a handful, I have to say. So, but yeah, the other lads obviously help pop up with goals and whatever. And there's a lad called Arthur Ganua who, he started for the first time on Saturday.
Mm.
Fans have been calling for him to start because he'd been labelled as an impact player by Everett, who
Mm.
just come on and help us get those late goals. And he's proven to be kind of a bit of a handful all the way through the game. So I imagine he'll be quite an influence.
Mm.
Yeah, Doyle's certainly the one to watch. I'd have to say, yeah.
Yeah, Ronald Ganoa's interesting actually, because we had him on trial a couple of seasons back actually under one of our previous managers, and he did look all right in the pre-season game, and then he ended up signing for Macclesfield, and I felt like that one kind of got away in a way because he was quite pacey. He had something about him, but
Mm,
yeah, just to my knowledge, he just couldn't agree terms. So yeah, he's another one. Like so you've got like the quality of players to be fair, and that's
mm,
what's always surprised me with Bolton, because obviously massive club for this league, probably the biggest in it, have to say. And it's one of them. I know sometimes fans, like when Portsmouth were down here, they kind of felt as though they should be obviously up there every season, which yeah, perhaps they should, but obviously it depends on what the players you've got, and I guess how you can approach things. I think that's a big thing as well.
yeah, definitely. I think we've certainly got more perspective on it since the fact that we haven't just gone and walked every game. It's allowed us to kind of have a bit of a reality check and sit there and go, look, we don't perhaps deserve to be up there like we thought we would.
Yeah.
Um, it's only fair that we are where we are, and we've got to fight for every win. We're not just going to sit there and just allow teams to come at us because we know we'll concede. It's not as easy as we thought it would be. I think we're regularly accused of being overly confident, and I like to think I'm a little bit more level-headed than that to realise that we're not just going to be, you know, the big team that everyone sees us as. I think it doesn't help also that when teams have come to us and they've seen the Reebok almost like Wembley. Do you know what I mean? It's compared to some playing surfaces in this league. It seems to be one of the best anyway. So
Mm.
that doesn't help. But obviously, for us to go to away grounds as well and play on these surfaces that aren't necessarily ones we're used to does help. But the players that we've got now, I suppose, have played at that level, so that they're used to it as well, which helps. But yeah, it's all just kind of been a massive reality check this season. I have to say, it's been a little bit of more of an enjoyable journey than I thought it would, because I could see it as a bit of a pain to begin with, because I just thought we could do without this.
Yeah.
It's been quite interesting just to see how much of a challenge we have on our hands. It's never nice to just think, oh, it's fine, we'll be fine, and
Yeah.
you've got to take each game as it comes and hope for the best, really, and that's just what we're doing.
Yes, that's probably the best approach to be. To be fair, I mean, it's when you start looking ahead, that's when it just goes downhill essentially. So obviously, I know you've obviously come down a lot the past few years. Like, has things been sorted now with your owners? Has things been sorted out there, or?
Yeah, I think as far as we're aware, so there's three owners now. So there's Sharon Britton, Michael James, and the other one escapes me. Who did I say? Sharon, Michael, and I should know the other one. There was Emma Bugard, but she's now left. But Andy Gartside, who's the son of Phil, who we had as chairman previously, he's COO now, so he's kind of overseeing everything. He's been a massive credit to the club and helped us kind of come along the way with working with Tobias Phoenix, as I said, who's also now left. So there has been a bit of a reshuffle. It's not necessarily been completely sturdy since they came in. It's not just been a walk in the park. It's obviously been a season or whatever since they have, and they were kind of dealt a rough hand. They started with a team of kids and brought in Keith Hill, who obviously wasn't the right man to be. The kids have done well, don't get me wrong, but I think Everts have the opinion that they're not quite ready for this level of football, which I'm inclined to agree with some of them more than others. But yeah, in terms of it in the background, I believe that the books are relatively stable. We haven't released our accounts, I don't think, but it seems to be okay on the surface of things. We haven't had any issues so far, and the money's obviously been there to spend on the manager. Whilst a lot of the players have actually been free, so it's just the wages that are stacking up. But yeah, it seems to be fine now. It's just dependent on how quickly we can rebuild, because I'm sure at the minute we're probably making a loss with it. It's not sustainable to have a stadium kind of like ours at this level. I'm sure it's just not really working. And I was in the supporters trust AGM that we had this week, and obviously we have the hotel attached to the ground as well. And they said that they're a massive income influence, and they just said that obviously times like this, it's inevitably going to struggle, and completely understand that it must be quite a tight ship at the minute. But as it must be for any club, it doesn't matter how big your ground is. Money's going to be tight at the minute. So I think we're in the same boat as everybody else. I wouldn't say we're necessarily millionaires. I don't know how much we've got to play with. I doubt it's much more than anyone else at this level. It's not like we've been throwing money at the league like some people think we have. It's just that we've been able to attract relatively big faces, given that we're still somewhat of a big club, even though we don't find ourselves at a level where you can claim yourself to be. And it's just the wages that are kind of piling up. But I don't think even they're that high. Obviously, it's just the fact that we've got quite a big squad that they're going to pile up, I suppose. But yeah, we seem to be on the straight and narrow off the field. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And we don't have any more situations like we did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was just seeing you just drop down the leagues. It was a bit like Portsmouth in a way. It was just you don't expect clubs of that size to do it, but then again, it just shows you if things aren't working out behind the scenes. I mean, I read an article earlier on somebody posted this Mansfield fan. When we had Graham Coffin as manager, he did a whole article on basically the recruitment and stuff, and essentially it was like a last minute thing. So hence why we had to bring David Sharp in, because it was just all over the place really, and we had out like 2-3 targets, and it's just. Obviously, you can relate that as well. Obviously, being to Bolton, some similar situation. It was just terrible recruitment, essentially, and that's what can lead to clubs' demises, I feel.
Yeah. I don't think the recruitment was necessarily a immediate factor for us when it was all going downhill. It was more just what was going on off the field, with him kind of just pulling the funds out and just refusing to cooperate really, and helping, refusing to pay the wages and one thing and another. The recruitment's kind of been more of a factor this year, like I said, with the director of football leaving and bringing in players that were entirely his and not the managers. which has just obviously not helped things this season.
No.
But that's been the only kind of off the field criticism that I'd have of us. I'm not aware of any other kind of circumstances that are affecting us at the minute. But yeah, I'd like to think that if we can get out this league, we'll be okay. If not, we could find ourselves here for quite some time. I fear it'd just be a shame and a waste. I mean, although I do believe that one day we'll be back up, in the Premier League eventually. It might not be for quite a few years the way that we're going, but it just depends how much of a run we can put together at the end of this year. I think everyone just kind of presumed that we'd be straight back up, as we were when we dropped to League One last time. But then, I don't just want to become a yo-yo club out there. I want us to be able to sustain it, and I fear that even if we did manage to scrape promotion, or get into the playoffs and do it that way, I feel like we'd just drop straight back down because I don't feel like we could even compete at League One level. So I think it wouldn't necessarily be the best idea. Even I think even if we could just have a season of sustainability in League Two and then hit it hard next year, then that might be the way forward. But I don't think we're going to be world beaters anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, similar to ourselves in a way, even though we've been on a good run, it's still kind of, you look back on results when you first start and you kind of, even though you're doing well, sometimes you've always sometimes got that doubt whether or not you can carry it on or not. That's the biggest thing for me because, even teams that are in form, they're still capable of dropping points, really. So that's a big thing in itself. I mean, you've seen it with Newport, they're starting to drop points as well. And I suppose if you can get a couple of results and, teams above you can drop points, then it's one of them you can capitalise on that and then you're straight up there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a job done by any means. It's not set in stone at all. Like I said, a couple of wins can make all the difference. So it just depends how much we can sustain that. Which is obviously something it sounds like we've both struggled with so far. We don't perhaps back ourselves to improve on that anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's just unpredictable, I think, is the word that summarises League Two more than anything.
Definitely.
You find yourself at any end of the table come the end of the season. It's just so hard to call.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it just shows that there is a competitive nature to it, and whilst the quality hasn't been the best that we've ever seen, it's been an interesting one to prove that we're not quite where we thought we were, and just need to kind of think, hang on a minute, right? Let's just regroup here a second and try again. But it's an ongoing process for sure.
So yeah, last couple of questions here for you. Well, so it must be really strange. Obviously, 1 minute you're in the Premiership, next thing in the League Two. Then it must be strange, really, just to come down that far. How would you just describe it, like? Because
yeah, it's just been a massive shock, to be honest. It is a while ago since we got relegated from the Premier League. I think it was that Aguero day, 2011, 2012. It was that same day. So we're kind of just used to being in the Championship for quite a few years, and then when the financial struggle started, that's when everyone kind of feared the worst. Obviously, we got to League One for a year, but then everyone's faith was kind of restored when we jumped straight back up. So it was kind of a bit of a roller coaster, if you like, to go back up and then immediately drop 2 in a row was like a big stone that hit us, obviously, to the point where we thought we were even going to go out of business, being in administration at one point. And I think we're about 3 hours from liquidation, something like that. I mean, I've been to court, I think 3 or 4 times to see the outcome of the what was going on there. We seemed to survive every time, get adjournment and what have you, and then eventually it got dismissed. There's obviously the thing with Bassini, which just didn't help things either. Being a rogue owner, we just could have done without another one of those. And then obviously at the final hurdle, the football ventures came in and saved us when we kind of least expected it, to be honest. So obviously that was a bit of a saving grace, and that's massively what it is as a Bolton fan. It's just a roller coaster because we get called fickle a lot because we just change our opinions so much, and it's just because 1 minute you're led to believe that, and then the next it's not. It's so difficult because when you get saved like that, you automatically think everything's fine, we're going to be great, and then when it doesn't happen, it's just so hard to kind of put into words what it's been like the last particularly 12, 18 months. And then to drop him for us not to then straight be back up there again has been massively demoralising. The fact that we can't go and watch them and cheer them on, because I think that's what they're massively missing. They're missing a rocket up the backsides. Everett could probably do with it as well. But it's just a shame that we're not able to be there. And I think that would have been a massive influence in us getting back up there this year. But nevertheless, I've still got faith. I think is the word. Just keep hold of it. And a lot of people are still saying be thankful that we have a club. I think we're kind of beyond that point now, but it's just been a bit of a roller coaster. We never expected to be the Portsmouth type, but here we are. And I know it's been a different situation to theirs, but it's been relatively similar in terms of us dropping down the divisions. We're now known as that club that did it. I think it's the lowest we've ever been. So it's not the best of times to be a Bolton fan, but we're keeping the faith nonetheless.
Yeah, it kind of opens your eyes, doesn't it, really, to be fair? Because, I suppose a lot of clubs kind of, because we're the same in a way. I mean, when we got saved, when we was in the conference, we was close to, not being the club until John Rashford, brought us out. And initially, he came in, all the expectation, and it's one of them. Also since we've been back in League Two, it's like we've had that expectation every season to go up. And I understand it because the money we spend and stuff, and the facilities we've got. But even then, you look at teams with less and things and that. I mean, that couldn't stand a couple of seasons ago in League Two, and they did nothing. So it just shows you don't, because we've got a lot of fans are the same. They expect us to be up there, which don't get me wrong, we should be. But at the same time, you've still got to earn the right to do that.
Yeah, of course we have, and I think we're entirely of that opinion that we've got to earn it this season. I think at first we perhaps weren't of that opinion, but now we certainly are. Like I said with Prince and Stanley, they've been incredible. I have to say that I know how well run they are. I think arguably people might not believe me, but they're honestly one of the best run clubs in the country, and it just makes sense how they do it. And they've been great to get to where they are now. And I'm a massive kind of believer of coming from nothing to be something. It's something to kind of respect and just say, look, they're better than us now. It's ridiculous to think, but they've earned it. So can't complain at all. And I mean, I know we beat them in pre-season. We drew with them, but then they beat us 7-1 last year. I think that was probably one of the biggest wake-up calls of all. So it's great to see them doing what they are, but obviously it's not great that we're swapped over with them. Hopefully we'll be back up there before long. It's just keeping the faith, and hopefully it'll come good eventually.
Hope so, mate. Just the final question then. What's your prediction going into this tomorrow night's game?
Oh, again, it's just so hard to call, not knowing where we're up to. I'd like to think we'd win, but it's by no means a foregone conclusion. Score prediction. Again, I'm going to go 1-1 just because that's what it was last time, and I feel like that's what it's going to be again. We're going to think that it's our game, and it's just not going to be. I think we'll do enough to get a goal, but it won't be enough for 3 points. So, yeah, I think we'll have a tough test in our hands for sure, especially coming up against Cloughie. I know he loves a win against us, so by no means am I assuming that we're just going to walk all over you. That's not the case at all. So, yeah, 1-1, and I think that'll be probably a fair result, if anything.
I do want to say 2-1, but at the same time, it's just, again, it's a big thing when you haven't played. You can sometimes be a bit rusty in terms, because even though people think, well, you haven't played, you've got a few days to rest. It's like, yeah, but that's only for your injured players. It's just keeping that fitness up. So I think that's going to be a thing. But do you feel as though Bolton are improving then as the season's going along, or is it just like inconsistency, like you say?
It's been massively inconsistent up until kind of recently, where we've looked like we're getting better. Like I said, I don't think we particularly deserve to lose to Tranmere. I think the officiating didn't help there. I don't know if you've seen some of that. It was just...
No, I didn't. Well, what happened there?
Ridiculous. Yeah, I think we had 2 red cards, one being the manager, one being a player. They should have had a straight red. It just madness. They had a penalty, which wasn't a penalty. I've not seen anything like it, but yeah, there was that, and then obviously to get a win last Saturday was obviously encouraging as well. So again, we've not had 2 in a row, I don't think, yet. So that's why I'm against saying that we will definitely get it, because it hasn't happened yet. So I don't see why it would now necessarily. But if it is going to happen anytime soon, it might well be now.
Yeah.
Again, I couldn't possibly tell you for sure. So yeah, I'm going to go safe and go 1-1.
Well, I think every League Two fan can agree that I think the officiating in this league is so poor. I don't think anyone can have any disagreements in that.
Yeah, I mean, we've not been done too badly up until last weekend, but I've just never seen anything like it. Yeah, I believe that they got reported by Ian Evatt, and he got touchdown ban overturned. So that just says everything, I suppose. But yeah,
it's just strange, isn't it? You know, obviously fans not being allowed in the stadiums and that. Just you know, it's just weird times, isn't it? Really, it's just like just everything about it's just weird. Like I mean, obviously you're watching it on your your phone or laptop, but it's just not being able to be there and support your club. It's just strange.
It's not the same at all, and I think a lot of fans are feeling a massive disconnect from their club. And it's not just us feeling that. Everyone's in the same boat. I don't feel entitled to feel that way more than anyone else. It's just a massive shame that we can't be there to help them, because I feel like they are missing that edge. I think that applies to everyone. The motivation, a manager can only say so much, a captain can only say so much, but
the atmosphere and that,
thousands of fans screaming in your ear, and that's what makes the difference a lot of times, more than what people think.
Yeah,
I think that's more evident than ever now. I'm just hoping that obviously sooner rather than later it all comes to an end and we can get back to abusing everyone.
Yeah, that's it. That's what you miss. You miss the banter, both sides of the band. That's it. I mean, it's like it's not the same about fans football. It's I don't care what anyone says. It's just not the same.
No, it's not at all. It's been so hard to kind of just sit here, and even when we've won, it's just so hard to get about it. And obviously when we've lost, it's just really bad. But especially when you're spending money on it constantly, knowing that you're not there in the flesh, it just doesn't feel right almost.
Yeah.
Throwing £10 down the drain every week, it's not the best. I'm not a massive fan of the iFollow service as it is. So, but yeah, I'd give anything to be back in the ground, as I'm sure you would.
Yeah,
so it'd be great. But yeah, we can only hope at this point, can't we, that it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, thanks for joining us again today. Well, I wish Bolton the best of luck in this season.
And yourselves.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, who knows, we might even both play each other again in a few months' time, depending on the results, of course.
Quite possibly, yeah. I won't be surprised. Let's just say that. So,
yeah, because like I say, it's going to be an interesting one because, like I say, we're both in the teams really in terms of like expectations and the players that we've got. So yeah, it's going to make for an interesting watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll keep in touch with you over the game anyway, and obviously good luck to you, but not too much good luck.
Yeah, well, like I always say to people, like, may the best team win, because like I'm one of them. If we haven't played well, like, trust me, I'm like one of the most critical fans, and I can't help but be honest. You know what I mean? If we've been bad, I just can't help but say that.
Absolutely, I'm not the bitter type. If we've lost and we've deserved to, I'm not going to pretend that we've not.
Yeah, same.
So I'm the first one to say we shouldn't have won that. So
yeah.
Likewise, if we win and we don't deserve to, I'll also admit to it. So just see how it goes. But yeah.
Well, yeah, best luck with your podcast, mate. If that works out well, and so like I say, good luck to you.
Thanks very much, and you, mate.
You too, mate. Bye.
Right.